Good afternoon, everyone, all of those of you who are with us and out there in TV land. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission. Today's date is August 20th, 2009. With that, Richard, please go right ahead.
Roll call. Commissioner Stepanian.
Present.
Commissioner Lee.
Present.
Commissioner Dovanisian is absent. Commissioner Solis, absent. Commissioner Wagner.
Present.
Commissioner Gregorian is absent. Chairperson Kivanian.
Here. Next item, please.
Let me say that the agenda for the July 16th meet for the July. Wait a minute. The August 20th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on August 19th. Next item, consent item. Approval of regular commission meeting minutes from July 16, 2009 at 2 p.m.
Can you make a correction on that? Is it August, posted at August, you said 19?
Yes,
Or?
the
August 12th.
The
August 12th, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Good.
Because it's wrong here, so I'm trying to
right.
backtrack there. I said it
Okay.
I went forward instead of backwards.
Yeah, because you backward one date, which
Yeah.
one day, which...
No, it's the 12th.
12, okay.
Thank you. Thanks for correcting me. Consent item.
Okay. Consent item.
Approval of regular commission meeting minutes from July 16, 2009 at 2 p.m.
Move approval of the minutes with the correction of the spelling of Joan Schaff. No C. Maybe
There
that.
is second.
Is there a second?
Yes, I second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stepanian?
Sorry, abstain. I wasn't here.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Dovanisian's absent. Commissioner Solis is absent. Commissioner Wagner?
Yes.
Commissioner Gregorian is absent. Chairperson Kivanian.
Yes. However, we do have to revote on these next month, do we not? Oh, no, they passed?
Have a quorum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there was 3 votes, so 3 out of 4. Okay. All right. Next item, please.
Introductions and presentations. There are none. Oral communications.
All right. I have 3 cards. This is the exciting part for us. This doesn't happen a lot. 3 cards. First, we have Joan Aiden. Is it? Aiden from Forest Lawn Museum.
Hi, I'm Joan Adan, the curator-designer for Forest Lawn Museum here in Glendale. I'm here to let you know about our current exhibit, Reuben Nakian, A Modernist Voyage to Roman and Greek Traditions. This extraordinary exhibit of 26 bronzes and 19 prints and drawings examines the work of one of the most important figures in contemporary art, Armenian-American abstract expressionist Reuben Nakian. All the work on exhibit were created within the themes of classical Greek and Roman legends and biblical tragedies. The artwork is on loan from the Nakian estate and private collections and will be on view until January 3rd. One of the lenders, Rita Balian, president of the Armenian American Cultural Association, sent me this email about Reuben. Dear Joan, I join many other 20th century art collectors, art critics, and art connoisseurs to consider Reuben Nakian as one of the giants of the 20th century American art. Reuben Nakian was a genius in his own right and a great philosopher of life, of human relationships, who understood and interpreted very poetically the essence of pure love between 2 human beings, a man and a woman. Yet he was modest and a very sensitive man who never pursued material wealth. He created art for the sake of art and not to please the buyers, something rare among artists, especially in the 20th century. As Arshile Gorky is considered by many to be the father-founder of the 20th century American abstract expressionist paintings, Reuben Nakian is considered to be the founder of American expressionistic sculpture art. Most sincerely, Rita Balian, Nakian, art lover and collector. This exhibit embodies Forest Lawn's mission to enrich, inspire, and educate the community through the display of exhibits and programs that feature history, culture, and religion. I hope you all come visit our museum for this important exhibit and will join us for future exhibits and programs. For further information on Forest Lawn exhibits and programs, please visit our website at www.forestlawn.com. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Actually, could you repeat the dates?
Excuse me?
Could you repeat the dates again?
To January 3rd next year.
Okay, great.
Any other questions?
Questions, comments from...
I have, and also there are free catalogs you can receive when you're there. Pass them along here. I don't know any other questions. Parking is free, admission is free. We're open every day but Monday from 10 to 5. Any other questions? Excuse me? Right, I don't know about that. You have to call Forest Lawn to find out and visit our website for that sort of information.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Thank you for helping Glendale keep up their arts by having.
It's my pleasure.
An
It's Forest Lawn's
exhibit
pleasure as well. It's part of our founders' creed to inspire art, artistic endeavors, and to have art available for all people in our community, free.
I would recommend put a sign out front, since after August 29th you're going to be infamous there for a while, to remind people that you do have art available in the.
We actually have a billboard out on the corner of San Fernando and Glendale, and it's a billboard about this exhibit. And it is important. Excuse me?
Oh, I was going to. I noticed it the other
Did you?
day.
Did you see the billboard?
It's a beautiful, very enticing.
It is. It's a wonderful. It's a very important exhibit. The last exhibit of Rubinakian was at the LA County Museum of Art in 1961 in this area. But he's very famous. So I hope everybody comes to see it. Do you have any other questions? No?
Great, thanks so much.
Thank you.
The next card I have is Becky Mate.
Hello, I'm Becky Mate reporting on Art Day. This year, the mayor, for the fourth year in a row, proclaimed the second Friday in August as Art Day. And for anybody that doesn't know what Art Day is, I'd like to explain it. It's a holiday like Valentine's Day or Arbor Day, but instead of hugging your sweetheart or hugging a tree, you hug an artist. And it's for art's appreciation. I got mail art from New Zealand, Canada, all over the U.S., and this year I got a lot of press for Art Day. Several articles in the Glendale News Press, the Foothills Tahunga paper, the Asian Journal, which is a Filipino newspaper, and that's good to get that support. And I surveyed a few people that came to my Art and Chocolate celebration of Art Day that I have every year. And I asked them, what is Art Day? And here's a few of the responses. It's a special day like a holiday and bringing people together to celebrate creativity, art, and artists. Art Day is to recognize and acknowledge all artists, to show appreciation for all their hard, beautiful, heartfelt work. Art Day is a day to visit with other artists and share the world of the arts. I asked them what suggestions did they have for future Art Day celebrations. And one said, ideally, I'd love to see an Art Day festival on Brand Boulevard on a Saturday evening like cruise night. And I got that when my friend of mine and I were hanging signs on Brand Boulevard, stores that wanted to wish everybody happy Art Day. It says, celebrate artists. We wish you and your family a happy Art Day, second Friday in August. So up and down Brand Boulevard, merchants were wishing people happy Art Day. And two of the merchants said, oh, are you closing down Brand Boulevard for Art Day? So that's what they thought this was. So closing down Brand Boulevard, charge a minimum space fee like $25 per space and charge food vendors and advertisers more, hold a fundraiser in advance, sell tickets to the public at, say, $5 per person or $15 per family, get some corporate sponsor donations to pay the money required for the police and fire support. The idea of a festival would include arts and crafts vendors, food, with roaming and performing street performers, singers, poetry readers, storytellers, balloon artists. Also sidewalk chalk art, games like a country fair for prizes, etc. Another person said, have a stage for performing artists. Community outreach needs to be done to include groups in Glendale and surrounding areas. And another person said, continue the art hunt. Certainly a big hit with the kids. That's where kids run around and look for art supplies and art objects. They really are thrilled to do that. And then some of the results that they had celebrating at my Art Day celebration. I had a great time and was reminded of how much talent there is all around us that goes unappreciated. Now, when I give you the results, think of this magnified all over Glendale, because this is just a microcosm of what it can be. I sold a silk flower arrangement, got a special order for one, enjoyed meeting other artists, and the social connections. More love for and getting to know and talk to artists in our area. So if anybody would like to help me with be on the Glendale Art Day committee for next year and put something together and help, they can reach me at artday@earthlink.net. And the highlight, of course, as Ruth Salby in the Glendale News Press pointed out, was we had all kinds of art. We had visual art, music, fashion art from Cousteau's in Americana. But there was a 10-year-old named Sky Rowe who was doing fondue chocolate art with the fondue chocolate on a paper plate. I'll pass that around. Anyway, any questions about Art Day?
Well, if you're planning on expanding to another venue or to a wider venue, I certainly encourage you to come to Unity Fest, because it sounds a little bit like Unity Fest on Brand Boulevard, which does have a stage and booths along there, and it's a pretty darn big effort. But
oh yeah, it's going to be on Brand Boulevard this year, right?
It was last year also.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah. So please come. That's October 11th, Sunday, from noon to 6. Pitch throwing in there. But I will say that we asked about you after the last meeting, saying, "Wait, we haven't seen Becky yet, and isn't Art Day coming?" So
yes,
we did miss you, and the opportunity to let people know, remind them in advance.
Yes,
I was sorry to have missed your.
Although I did get like 75 people coming to my celebration somehow.
I was sorry to miss it this year. I had an enjoyable time last year.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
I just want to say I'd be happy to join your committee for next year. And, I personally would just stay with the chocolates and not bring it. No, I'm half serious, half joking. But the point is that if you bring food and so on, it becomes like all these other events that people have. That it seems like people have to be fed so they can then appreciate a little bit of art. I think chocolate is enough. And if you keep the character of your event the way it is, maybe expand it to Brand Boulevard and so on, but not go the same route as other people go. Like you have to give them either Armenian kebab or Thai kebab so they come. So. I personally would appreciate that more than. Unity Fest is fine. I go and I have no problem with it. But I'm just saying to keep the character a bit different. That would be my suggestion. But I would be happy to work with you on the committee for next year. Okay.
Thank you. One of the things about my celebration that started with an artist group that I was in before is that. People are allowed to share their art with the other participants, whether it's a poem or a song. It's a whole thing is artistic freedom, and I think that's part of, besides the chocolate, part of the appeal of my party.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's different.
It is.
It's a different thing, and I want you. I would suggest it would be my wish that it keeps that different character rather than kind of follow other. The other things that people do, it's a different thing, and that's what I appreciate about it most.
Okay, well, being on the committee is a good way to direct it in the direction you want it to go, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the last card I have is Elisa Resnick.
Hello, I'm Elisa Resnick from the Brand Library, and I'm just going to announce two of our events that we're having currently. On exhibition right now at the Brand Library Art Galleries is Mixed Media Lost and Found, artworks by Deborah Baca, Jane Brooker, Ursula Kamer-Fox, and Leslie Sutcliffe, and that'll be on view through September 11th. Mixed Media Lost and Found highlights the work of 4 Southern California artists working in a variety of media to explore themes of memory, loss, rebirth, and the significance of objects. Baca's mixed media drawings and assemblages utilize found photographs and textual narration to give new life to forgotten images. Brooker's precious metal castings of everyday objects give them a permanence and weight not usually accorded to the objects themselves, forcing us to reconsider them as vessels for meaning. Her memorial project uses swatches of clothing to tell stories about their deceased or unidentified owners. Kamer-Fox uses a variety of found objects to create figures that invite viewer interaction and the invention of narratives around each piece. And Sutcliffe's mixed media paintings and drawings incorporate obsolete text and images from books. These familiar pictures and words are thus given an opportunity to convey new meanings independent of their original context. Deborah Baca is from Santa Monica. She was born and raised in Los Angeles and studied at Santa Barbara and Santa Monica City Colleges. Jane Brooker from Los Angeles holds a master's degree in religion and the arts from Claremont School of Theology and an MFA in painting and performance art from Claremont Graduate University. She is currently a professor in the Department of Art and Art History at Loyola Marymount. Ursula Kamer-Fox lives in Santa Monica, and she earned her bachelor's degrees in Germany and Japan before emigrating to the United States, where she earned a bachelor's degree in French from California State University, Northridge. I don't have Leslie Sutcliffe's biography in front of me for some reason, but she lives in Los Osos, California, and I believe she currently teaches in the San Luis Obispo area. There was a nice article about this exhibition, or actually an art review, in the News Press yesterday, the August 19th edition. So that's on view through September 11th. The Associates of Brand Library are going to have an event, a panel discussion called Art of Today on Sunday, August 30th from 1 to 3 p.m. It'll be a panel discussion featuring Southern California artists Kim Abelies, Jim Morphesis, Franklin Legal, Catherine Chang Liu, and Gerald Brummer will comprise the panel. Bonice Collins Turner will be the moderator. The panel will discuss the current art scene, the art economy, how to survive in the art world, and how to get started as an artist. The panelists are all professional artists, teachers, and jurors of art competitions. Several of them have also juried the annual Works on Paper exhibition held at Brand Library and organized by the Associates. Brummer and Liu are internationally known watercolorists and acrylic painters who give workshops all over the world. Jim Morphesis is chair of the art department at Pasadena City College and winner of the prestigious Los Angeles County Art Museum Young Talent Award and has work in many museums around the country. Kim Abelies is a conceptual artist who has taught at Cal State University Northridge and has exhibited internationally. Her Smog Collectors exhibitions won worldwide acclaim. Franklin Legal teaches at Art Center and at Otis and has exhibited extensively. Moderator and organizer of the event, Bonice Collins Turner, is an artist, designer, and educator who deals primarily with drawing, painting, and printmaking. Several members of the panel and Turner as the moderator did a similar program earlier this year at Viva Gallery in Sherman Oaks in conjunction with an exhibition called Teacher, Mentor, Muse. And because it was quite successful there, they wanted to bring it to Brand Library as well. Each artist will be donating a work of art during the event for a silent auction that will happen after the panel discussion. The event and auction is a fundraiser of the Associates of Brand Library to raise funds for art, music, and dance events at Brand Library. And based on the event at Viva, I'm told that it will be humorous and educational and fun having all of the panelists speak. Bonice will have prepared questions for each panelist, so they'll all be given an opportunity to share their experiences as artists and professionals and teachers. So we welcome you to that as well.
What are the dates?
of the panel discussion is August 30th, 1 to 3 p.m. I am short on flyers, but I have one I could pass around if you want to copy it. Sorry, I wasn't at my office before. Any questions? Uh-huh.
Thank you for keeping that up also. Refresh my mind on the renovations.
We'll talk
That will
about
come
that
out
maybe
later, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are
Okay.
going to talk about the open studio tour then.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Business agenda action items, approval of the arts projects for 2009 through 2010 fiscal year.
As requested, staff has prepared a comprehensive list of art projects scheduled for the 2009-2010 fiscal year, outlining the general components of each. Just a friendly reminder that while most of the responsibilities are on the list, certain essential job functions such as filing, emails, meetings, general office duties are not included on this list. On a separate form, something like this, we have sent it to you. Staff has prepared the cost of each project done last year and the anticipated cost of these projects for this fiscal year. As you can see, calculations show that staff will require 2,850 hours to put all of these events together. Though all projects are equally important, we would like the Commission to prioritize and select these projects which it feels take precedence over the rest. The best way for us to start the approval of these projects and programs is to start from the top. As you can see, we have 10 items on the list. We will start from the top. The number one item on the list is the Arts and Culture Commission and the staff's responsibilities. We have estimated 150 hours in total for the 2009-2010 fiscal year. If you have any questions, we can try to answer your questions, but if you don't have any questions or any objections, we can just move on to the next item.
Then I think actually, Representative, why don't you just go through all the items and we'll come back if we have any questions.
Sure. Oh, you want us to go through?
If that's fine with my colleagues, of course.
I have a preliminary question. Under the estimated cost, is that inclusive of the hours that are listed under the staff time, or?
No. It's just M&O for the project. If you don't have any numbers next to the... Yes, I'm sorry.
I would assume most of the cost is staff time, isn't that right?
Yes.
But it would also include rentals or
Right. There's a column for salary, which is the staff cost, and there's also a column for M&O budget, and that would include.
Where's that?
No, we don't have the staff budget. We just
Oh.
have the estimated staff time.
And estimated
Yeah, it's not
cost,
on there.
but it doesn't
Estimated
say what
cost,
the.
we have the estimated cost for the last year and this year. Estimated cost
Yeah,
for
this
this year.
does not include the staff. This does not
Doesn't
include staff.
the staff hourly.
Yeah.
So the 35,200 is. Could you give us an idea what those costs would be?
These are the same project, like Open Studio Tour for last year. If we spend $5,000 on that,
But what are the costs that we incur exclusive of your time? Banners are one, for instance, but
right, maps, all the details. If you go to the list where we have detailed description of the project, it will help you to see the cost right there.
most of those things are staff time. That's why I'm just trying to understand.
So, for example, on 5, on Open Studio Tour, it says,
Okay.
Right.
verify the amount of flags, banners, applications, postcards, flyers, maps.
Advertising.
And I'm sorry, I was looking at a worksheet that I had, but
Yeah.
that is the estimated cost, exclusive
Per
of staff time.
Per project.
Right, and so I was just trying to. This is helpful. So. Okay. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. So we can move on to the next item, which is the development of art policies. Staff started to work on developing art display policies back in March. At the last meeting, we formed a subcommittee to assist staff in finalizing the draft for the temporary installation of art in public parks and parks facilities. The subcommittee members, Commissioner Wagner and Chair Kevanyan, met with the staff and helped us to finalize the draft, which is now ready to be reviewed by the Director of Parks, George Chapchin, and then it will be sent, and the City Attorney, after which it will be sent to the Risk Management for insurance inquiries. So we still have a lot of work to do in regards developing policies, especially we have to work on the permanent policies for art installations in the parks. And the Commission commented at the last meeting about having similar policies for not only for the public parks, also in public places. That will be another thing to think about. But the other area we would like to get involved is creating percent for arts ordinance. We believe that these policies are extremely important and beneficial not only for the artists and our organizations, also for the community as a whole. Do you have any questions about the policies?
With respect to the art in public places policies, do I understand that the expectation from City Council is that will be our task to develop the policy, or is that coming out of
As you can see,
a department?
Department.
A different department?
No, out of ours. But
Out of ours.
It's not something that City Council has asked for at this point, but I think it's something that we're going to take a look at. You know,
I know
and bring it back
came
here.
up some time ago. Of course, when that policy was developed, I think
which
the hope
policy are we talking about?
when the percentage for arts
Was that for art?
was developed.
For the downtown specific plan.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about here. Is that what
we're
we're talking about?
citywide.
Citywide.
Not only
Okay,
for
so in
downtown.
addition to the downtown specific plan, okay. But that's down the
For
line.
the future, and yes, and it's not included in our general total of hours. We say in the future project.
Okay.
It says future project. Now, okay, the next one is the educational workshops. As you know, we are currently getting ready for the October workshop, Arts Tune-Up, sponsored by the LA County Arts Commission. Staff will be presenting the topic of licensing and publishing for visual artists, a never-before presented topic by the Arts Tune-Up organizers, and they were very, very excited about that. We are going to have our own table and offer one of our quarterly educational projects that we talked about in the past. Along with that, we are also, if you take a look at the document here, educational workshops, we are going to offer 3 other workshops. One will be public art policies, then business of fine art, and art of presentation. And these are going to be quarterly workshops.
I remember it in some of our earlier discussions, we talked about having a grant writing workshop for artists. Is that still?
Grant writing workshop will be covered by the Arts Tune-Up
Okay.
organizers.
Okay.
It's one of their topics, so we decided to leave that alone.
Okay. I would just suggest on that one that if we have flyers for the Arts Tune-Up, that we have those available for the panel discussion at Brand Library, because they'll be addressing some of the similar issues, and we could have a little exchange.
A very good idea, Commissioner Wagner, but we are expecting any day now to receive all these flyers from the LA County Commission, and as soon as we have it, even electronic flyers will be very helpful. We'll send it to the Brand Library and distribute it.
But an announcement might be helpful as well at that event.
Great, yeah, very good idea.
I might be at a Judy Chu event that day, but hopefully somebody can announce.
Okay. Well, my next project is the website. Staff believes the Glendale Arts and Culture.org website is a very, very important tool, and it will help to open new communication lines with the local artists and the art organizations. We would like to collect all existing art and culture information that we have in our website under the Arts and Culture, Glendale Arts and Culture.org domain umbrella, and also be able to have our projects like the Men's in Humanity to Men and Diamond Awards, all the other things that we were able to do last year, have it included on that website. Since last July, as you remember, we did our Open Studio Tour website. Since then, it hasn't been updated. So also having the policies listed on the website, giving them the tools and submission forms to make it easier for them. I think it's a very good idea to work on the website.
Is this, I'm sorry, you say Glendale Arts and Culture, or is it just GlendaleArts.org?
No. This is Glendale Arts and Culture.org that we acquired last year and started with the Open Studio Tour project. Since then, under this domain name, we only have the Open Studio Tour project. And we believe it's a very good idea to have everything else. The city's public collection should be there. All the public art policy should be there. Chuck Art event that we did last year and the Diamond Award. Everything that we have done in the past, it should be under the same website.
So this, I'm so sorry, this is different from the Glendale Arts.
Yes,
I
definitely.
see.
Glendale Arts. Confusing.
Obviously, I don't spend enough time looking at our website, but it's linked currently to the city.
Yes.
And what? I don't. Did we pay someone to do that for us?
Our IT department, informational. Is it IS? Services, IS.
So
department.
the city department. Do we? How does that work when the city department does work for this commission? Is there a charge that falls under that comes under our budget?
Of course. Every department. If you need to print flyers, we have to pay to the graphic department. If IS does something for us, for our internet-related works, they send us a bill.
So this estimated 150, wasn't it, 150 hours? 150 hours, which is the same as the ongoing arts and culture meetings. Was that the IT department's estimate of the time it would take to design that website?
From the experience we had last year while we were working on the Open Studio Tour, it took us about 7-8 weeks to have the website working. Now everything else that we have to do to list all the other, create the new web pages, we estimate that's how much it's going to take us to do it.
Sounds like a lot to me, but I don't know much.
I mean, to load the pictures and to catalog everything, that's kind of what if you can go into detail a little bit about...
Well, anybody who has created their own website will have an idea how much work it is just to write the list, the information, choose the images, the design, everything you have to decide according what the department needs. But the work actually will be done by the IS people, by the experts in the Information Services Department.
But it still takes work on the staff side to get the material ready. They give it to IS. IS then puts it
And
all
we
in.
think these numbers are actually condensed very, it can get,
Should go up.
go up. But I'm hoping that most of the information that we already have on the city side can be linked or used, so it will save us time. We're not creating new information.
So again, the 6,300 that's listed for 2008-9
For Open Studio Tour.
was the
alone.
was the charge to the by the IT department that our budget had to pay into the IT department for the Open Studio Tour. So are we coming back to vote our priorities at the end, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, we will come back and for after staff is done with their presentation, we can openly discuss.
Okay.
And Commissioner Wagner, also, as you update, you constantly have to update the information. They have
Right.
to do that
Right,
as well.
right.
And just a note, when you say it's the Arts and Culture Commission budget, there really wasn't much of a budget to start with, so the department has been absorbing a lot of this cost through other savings that we've had. So it's really the Parks and Recs department absorbing a lot of these costs.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, again, where it would be helpful as we prioritize to look at,
What's available.
what is the budget that has been allotted to this group, so that we have a clearer idea of what we have to raise elsewhere if we want to do an event.
Right.
Right. So again, this is why I was asking before if it was okay with my colleagues that we
to
go through the
wait.
presentation and then we can come back.
But I don't remember my questions that long. I have to ask them as they arise. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So go right ahead.
Okay. The next item will be the Open Studio Tour. With regard that, it is important to all of us that we have a successful event as we did last year. The Commission has suggested in the past that the Open Studio Tour can be done at the Central Library. For that purpose, I met with the Director of Libraries, Cindy Clary, and visited the site to see the possibilities of holding the exhibition of the Open Studio Tour at Central Library. Ms. Clary has been very, very excited, thrilled to hold the exhibition in the library. But we do have some concerns that the Central Library is not designed for an exhibition. It doesn't offer walls, it doesn't offer lighting. It has portable walls, about 30 to 40 portable walls, and they're not strong enough, they're not sturdy enough to hold nicely framed, let's say, oil on canvas paintings. If the Commission decides to do an Open Studio Tour at the Central Library, we have to remember that there will be limitations. We cannot, we have to limit the number of participants. Last year we had 148 artists. This year, if it takes place there, it has to be about 70 or 80. I have to ask Cindy Clary or Alyssa to come and help you if you have any more questions about that. The other thing, we also have to limit the size of the paintings. It can be only lightweight, or the Commission, if decides to rent strong portable walls, which we don't have that kind of budget. But these are the things I think the Commission should be aware of. I thought it's important for us to share this information with you. Now, I also talked to Alyssa Resnick, the senior manager of the Bryant Library Art Galleries, to see the possibilities of doing the Open Studio Tour at Bryant. And there is a very good chance that we might be able to do the Open Studio Tour at Bryant in July. But I have to ask, maybe.
2010.
I'm sorry, July, yeah, 2010.
Nine's already gone.
So that's why I asked Alyssa to be here today. If you have any questions regarding the renovation schedule or any other questions related to that. Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
tell us about the renovations and whether July 2010 is fairly certain or only a tiny bit certain?
I'm Cindy Cleary, Director of Libraries, and I'm delighted to tell you all it's nice timing that I'm here today because as of last week, we actually got approval from City Council to hire an architectural firm, Gruen and Associates. They have a lot of experience with historic buildings, libraries, and public places, and so we are moving ahead after many, many years with the renovation of Brand Library and art galleries and recital hall. We probably will, what we're looking at in terms of when construction would begin, actually, we're not looking at it yet. We don't have a definite schedule, but at this moment, we're thinking it's safe to book the gallery through July of 2010. So July is the traditional month for Open Studio Tour, as I understand it, and so July would be available to you. When Ripsame was mentioning Central Library, we were talking about the 2009 option, which would be in November of this year if we did it at Central Library. But as Ripsame mentioned, it would be limited in terms of how many pieces we could put in. We have movable walls, as she said, but they are not as sturdy as a regular wall. But they do accommodate framed pieces.
Any other questions from my colleagues?
So basically, you're saying the renovation is supposed to start around August?
I don't know yet. Yeah, I mean, we're going through a design phase, so we're kind of keeping the rest of the year open because we haven't had time to really sit down and crank out what the schedule will be. But right now, in terms of thinking ahead for the gallery, we do have tentative agreements with artists through the end of 2010, but we have penciled in July as a possibility for the Open Studio Tour.
When will you be able to confirm that instead of penciled in?
Penciled in meaning if you want to go ahead with Open Studio Tour, we will work with you on that.
Of that, okay.
Yeah.
So this exhibition, the one in the library, is just part of the Open Studio Tour, but it's not obviously.
Right.
The other galleries and so on are open and for.
All the Open
so
Studio
this is just
Tour
for-
is
yeah.
for the artists and art organizations to open their doors on that day.
Yeah.
But every participant will have one piece
Yes.
at the library or the gallery, exhibiting for 2 or 3 weeks.
I had a conversation with Ripsame earlier in the week, and I learned, maybe this was something that had been shared up here before, but I didn't remember it, the fact that for some of our artists in the Open Studio Tour, the big draw is having the chance to display a piece at the Brand Library because it is such a prestigious location. So that
Thank you. Yes, you are absolutely right. Brand offers that prestige that artists need for their portfolios. So that's one other aspect that we have to remember. That makes it very successful.
I think it's also an opportunity to bring people to the Brand Gallery who might not otherwise have been there yet. So,
Right. Does that exhaust the questions that we have for Ms. Cleary?
would she like to know what our vote is, or are we going to keep her here till the end of the discussion?
Well, I'd like to vote on this. I mean,
Just pestering you.
yes, thank you. I think we'll go item by item after we're done with the entire presentation.
I'm happy to stay.
Sorry to keep you, but
Thank you.
I like to keep things organized a little bit. I like to jump around and all that stuff. So next, please.
You are right on time.
Yes. And I was listening to the rest of it downstairs.
Okay, the number 6 is the Men's Inhumanity to Men. As of today, we haven't heard from the council if the Men's Inhumanity to Men is going to take place as an exhibition or if it comes as another medium. So at this time, we don't have any information to share with you. If you remember, Commissioner Grigorian was planning to find out. He's out of country, and we don't know actually the progress of that.
We actually had many meetings regarding that, but we have not finalized our gatherings and the information that we have got. to see how we would like to approach in the future and to propose it here and to see what our commissioners decide on that, because it's a commission event. So we were thinking about the fact that after we get all of our information, we'll decide either the commission wants to go with it or not. It could be another venue to approach the city and do it via city, but it's in progress. Still,
But the
we are
commission
doing
has to
research.
get a direction from the council. Do you
Yes.
have that direction already?
Not yet, no.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Meanwhile, do we have that time reserved at Brand Library?
Not until we hear from the council. We can't reserve anything.
If you recall, when we originally agreed to do the MIM exhibit at Brand Library, the agreement was that we could only do one of two exhibits. So the choice would be between doing the open studio tour or the MIM, the Man's in Humanity exhibit. So in terms of our schedule, we could do something in April, but it would have to, because we've already booked artists, it would have to be within a 2-week period, and it would require some rearranging, once again, of our artist schedule. So you want to repeat that?
Well, I remember that the discussion last year that there could be just one.
Yes.
But for next year, if we did the open studio tour exhibit at Brand in July, would that mean we could not do the Man's in Humanity to Man exhibit at Brand
Correct.
in April?
Correct. And the reason for that is we have very limited number of slots, mostly related to budget. We'd like to do more, but we have very limited number of slots available to artists and groups. And so in fairness to other groups and other artists who are clamoring to exhibit at Brand, we feel that it's the most equitable approach to say the Arts and Culture Commission has one exhibit during the year.
So does that mean that in the future or in the near future we have to come with a decision of which one, or it's already decided?
Right. That's the reason why we're going through this item by item, and then we'll come back to it, and then we can discuss all of it together.
Please don't disturb the program of the chairman from now on, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Did you mention that it is possible in April for 2 weeks? Now, is that in addition to July?
No.
No, one or the other.
One or
One
the
or
other.
the other.
Just like it was last
Last
year.
year, okay.
The same exact circumstances exist,
Or if
we
we
had the
give
one-
up, let's say 2 weeks.
but we had to cancel the open
in
studio.
July and have a short exhibition for the open studio.
Well, once again, we would have to rearrange the other artists that we've already booked in the early part of the year, and we really prefer not to do too many short exhibits. In terms of community,
That makes sense.
yeah, visibility, it's not really fair to the artists in many cases. And as I said, right now we're limited to 2 weeks because we've already booked artists through at least half of the year.
Okay.
Good to know.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along to Diamond Awards.
Hey, for the Diamond Awards, we believe October will be a good month to hold the event because it is the National Arts and Humanities Month. We should start planning at the start of next year to make sure we have enough time for publicizing the event and to receive enough nominations. From our last year's experience, we had to postpone it twice, so it's a good idea for us to start early next year and plan the Diamond Award for October.
Could I ask what's early in the year? What timeline are we talking about? Could I ask what time when you say early in the year, meaning
I
what
mean
month?
end of January, early, sometimes in February. We should start.
Any other questions on that item?
No? No questions?
Okay.
Okay, the last one will be the Art in the Park. Staff has reserved Brent Park for spring of 2010 in order to have Art in the Park in ideal weather. I did inquire on reserving the parks for November of this year, but unfortunately the parks were reserved until the end of December. And to keep the concept alive, I think it has to have a nice weather, and November or December are very risky to have art in the park. These are the major projects for 2009-2010, but other important activities such as searching and applying for grants are not mentioned, but are being pursued currently. So, that's about it.
Did you want to discuss any of the on the 1 page summary? Did you want to discuss item 9 or item 10, coordination of art installations in parks and
Yes,
park
sure.
facilities?
Thank you for that. Yes.
Sure.
Number 9 is the coordination of art installations in parks and parks facilities. Once we have the policies approved, we are going to publicize the policies, and we're planning to start that in January again, early in January, and set up timeline to receive the proposals. Once we get the proposals, there are a lot of other things that has to be done now, coordinating the meetings, getting the submissions, and making the appointments, going to the site, visit to the site, and installation-related work that has to be done, the installation, publicizing the event. Every time we have an approved proposal, I'm sure it will become an event by itself, and it needs to be publicized and let the community know. This has to start once the policies are approved in order, and hopefully we will start doing this beginning of the year. January will be the best time for us to start publicizing, making the announcement about accepting proposals for a temporary and permanent installation of art in public parks and parks facilities.
Okay. And, well, of course, we all know what the general office duties are, so...
I can't
I won't
comment
ask you to.
on the hours. These are estimated hours. We had estimated about 150 hours for doing this. It is going to be an ongoing project, and we will learn about all about that once we start doing it. It can be less, it can be more, depending on what kind of response we will get, how much work we will get, how many proposals we will receive.
Director Chapton, did you have anything to add on to any of this, or?
I think I will once we talk about prioritizing and
Okay.
what's available in terms of staff time, because we have gone through some cuts.
Right.
So you should be aware there's not a lot of time available vis-a-vis staff. And the other art council that the city council was talking about and what that may do to the budget, the arts budget.
Mhm. Okay. Commissioner Wagner is bright-eyed already. She's ready to go. Do you want to open with some comments or ideas?
I think it's an off-topic question, but Director Chapchin brought it up. So if there were an arts council, that would replace this group, and so the funds would move to them? Isn't that
As I
plan?
understand it, if there were, if I recall from the city council meeting, if there were a group organized, or if they decided to RFP the services, they would take $75,000 out of the current arts budget that we have and put it towards that effort. That was my understanding, and I could be wrong, but I think that's what I understood.
So whatever we're planning for as long as we're here, or until something else comes along. Right.
Well, the way I just heard it is that we're in a dual mode where we will still exist and part of the budget will go to there.
Well,
is that what I'm?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the existence of the commission. I know that we'll still have some money available for arts, and so the staff person will still continue to do art-related work. And some of that is, of course, support to if this group continues, support to this group, support to the Parks and Recs Commission vis-a-vis art policies, installation of art at the parks and all of our facilities, and some of the other work plan that we have here. What we'd like from you is prioritize those so that we can get to whatever you feel is important first, and then go down the list. If we have money left over, if we can find some additional money to put into, which we normally do, we can continue the work of this commission and the section.
Do I understand it right? Because originally that was the amount allocated for the commission that we were using and our staff and all the other expenses. But if Art Council is going to get the $75,000, that means that in reality there is no money to run any other decisions or discussions we have here unless all we do is prioritize what in the future the Art Council might or might not decide to do.
Well, this would have nothing to do with the Art Council. That would be a separate group, and I think their task, from what I understand, would be more events that would help support local businesses, such as art and on brand, things like that. I think would be appropriate for them to do. But I don't know. They're still working on that work plan. These are things that we've identified that our department typically does, and we plan on continuing to do that.
So, am I clear that let's assume that the Art Council gets all whatever needs to be done? The commission still is going to be in place, and they are going to have the Man's in Humanity to Man and all the other projects, or it's going to go under the Art Council. It's just okay what the city decides. It's just I want to know what's our direction to know how much time we are spending on this. Is it?
Well, I couldn't tell you if the commission was going to be in existence or not. All I can say is that this is just our work plan. And we're going to operate like there is a need out there, and we still want to continue to do art on our department. I wish I can give you more, but that's all I can tell you about the process.
I'm fine because we are here to serve the city, and we want to make sure that we are doing everything which is good for the community. But if you are going to plan, let's say, on something major for the Man's in Humanity to Man, it's going to need a lot of time and effort and money, and I need to know which direction we are taking. So if I want to approach entrepreneurs and philanthropists in the community or elsewhere to know what we are doing and to know how we are budgeting our time, or do I need to see other resources and sources for doing that? Because being a professional in my own field, I want to know how we do allocate, because it's a major task if we are going to take upon ourselves. So, and naturally we would need staff to help us, but again, it depends where we stand. I don't want to start something which later on we would be told, or, and people we approach, do we want to know it's going to be a city event or under what jurisdiction we were going to approach. We can do it individually as a community, but I want to know our direction, because really we're planning on that.
Right, and all I can say at this point is be on a hold pattern with that Man's in Humanity to Man. We haven't heard anything about whether or not they want us to continue to do that this year. But as soon as we do, we'll let you know. And if the commission is still in existence, then we'll proceed. If not, there's a staff role and also some volunteer roles that we can still, embark on. Sorry.
Is that a satisfactory answer?
No, but I can see that his hands are tied too.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what else to say. It's just, I hope that we would have an answer as soon as possible, because nonetheless, we can approach different venues to do what we need to do, but I don't want to waste any time to know whom we are approaching and what needs to be done. And I'm very serious about that. So we took care of it the first time, and we're going to make it a tradition, hopefully, in the community. It's very healing. It has done great merits to everyone. So just to know where we stand.
Okay, if we hear, and as soon as we hear, we'll let the commission know.
That would be great.
I'm going to ask I'm going to ask a question that has a more tangible answer for us. What is the current estimated budget for our commission as a whole, including staffing?
In the past years past, it was $141,000 total, and that included a full-time staff person with benefits, also a half-time staff person, and about $20,000 in M&O costs. As I said, the department historically has augmented that budget through savings in other areas. For example, we've had vacancies, and what we'll do is we'll take those the savings from vacancies and put that towards some of the art programs. So when you look at the M&O budget or estimated cost for some of these events, it has been subsidized or augmented by department budgets. But typically it's $141,000. If they take 75, only leave 75, and we've taken another cut during the last budget. During the last budget session, you're right, 65. So we've taken a cut in the arts as well.
Okay, well, because I mean, before I feel comfortable voting on anything, quite frankly, I want to know precisely exactly how much money we're talking about, because I mean it's impossible to play a guessing game, and all of a sudden we're going to have to start canceling events left and right.
I think at this point we're talking about $38,000 for staff time and about $20,000 in M&O.
Okay.
30, you said?
38,000.
38.
Which is about 1,500 hours of RIFC-May's time, half time.
Okay. So this is the estimate. Essentially $58,000 is the estimated budget that we're going to have to work with in the next fiscal year. Okay.
Is that including this estimated $35,200?
No, we're just talking about the budget as a whole.
32,000 is the estimated numbers for next year.
And I want my colleagues to keep in mind that last year the $10,000 for the Mans and Humanity to Man was donated.
Correct.
So let's all keep that in mind as well.
And then some of them that your father and...
Well, of course, I mean, we're not talking about who, but...
so it was more than 10,000.
Right. So I want my colleagues to keep that in mind when as we vote on this.
So if I hear correctly, if we run all these programs that are suggested, the $35,200, we would only have a budget of $23,000 left for staffing? Is that what I'm understanding?
I think what you should look at is it's total of 20. You have about 1,500 hours, and so pick and choose those programs that you feel are important.
To fit the 1,500 hours.
Right now,
Right.
according to this, we're $1,350 over.
Yeah.
So we can't do everything.
That's correct. That's why we have to prioritize.
Right. I'm being honest with you, and it is somewhat limiting. And if we can help with other department savings, we'll do that. Although this year is really tough because of the budget cuts. We lost 11 positions in the department, 11 vacancies, as did other departments. It's really a tough, as you know, in the school district, it's a tough year.
Now, here's a question. Because right now there's two columns. If we're cutting 1,350 hours, it would also cut the estimate cost. Would that be a balancing act? Whereas you cut, let's say, if we cut $8,000, the website, for example, if we cut the $8,000 from the IS, and then also it would cut 150 hours. Will that $8,000 can that be contributed back to the hours, as in from the budget? Because, for example, if you're scrapping an entire line item, you're talking $8,000 for the cost plus 150 staff hours. So if we're utilizing that 150 staff hours as a cut from the 1,350, then the $8,000 is also a cut from the estimated budget.
But I believe the $8,000 is not inclusive of her 150 hours, unless that's somebody else's 150 hours.
Well, no, because it's a line item, right? It's one item straight across. So in order to have that function, you need 150 staff hours plus $8,000.
Yeah.
So if we cut out that line item, means we should have a credit of $8,000 and 150 staff hours. So that means now if we have that cash back, can that cash back be applied back to hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Okay.
It can be.
Because that can help balance the numbers.
Okay, so I'm trying to think. I'm trying to prioritize Okay, let's really get down to one of the big issues, which is the Open Studio Tour versus Man's and Humanity Man, which was a huge issue last time as well, in terms of which one do we do and what do we trade out. Commissioner Wagner?
My sense is that Open Studio Tour has been one of the signature events of this group. It has been, I think, in addition to the Diamond Awards, but as a program that this group puts on, it's certainly one of my favorites. That's not to the Man's and Humanity to Man event is a city event, which is also an incredibly important event or series of events for the city. Since we cannot make a determination with respect to what our role will be in the Man's and Humanity to Man event next year, and since I'm not sure that we can expect to be able to do the kind of event that was done so remarkably well this year, the donations from this community, that maybe I would put Open Studio Tour. We're going to miss it this year. I would hate for us to miss it next year. My vote would be to plan on Open Studio Tour and Diamond Awards and start there. And certainly, however we can participate, whatever we can do to lend our efforts and the artistic piece to the Man's and Humanity to Man event, we would want to stand ready to do. But that would give us July and October. When did you say? I think you said, yeah. July for Open Studio Tour and Diamond Awards you have listed
For
at
October.
Anyway, that's my thought. At least that we start with one and commit ourselves and their library to Open Studio Tour
Well,
next year.
As far as I can understand, right now the Open Studio Tour is penciled into the calendar. And I think my personal opinion, honestly, is it's way too soon for us to give even an opinion on which one to do or which one not to do, depending on which city entities are involved. That all depends, because last time we hired a curator who took over a huge chunk of the job. It would have been impossible to do without her. And I mean, maybe we can cut back from staff hours in some kind of a way if we can raise that more money, and that's another question. So honestly, I cannot say yes or no on either one, because as you remember last time, I was the one who made the same argument that Open Studio Tour is part of our tradition. That's what this commission does every single year. So let's keep that going. However, at the same time, depending on what kind of city support we get from city manager's office, maybe we can cut back on some of the staff hours, raise the money ourselves like we did last year, and still have some kind of a functional event. But again, if we do that, we have a trade-off of which event goes where. So I really cannot make a decision barring the circumstances, because I honestly, we don't know it. We don't really know.
Could we hear from all our commissioners?
Of course we can. Wait, who's the chair? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that was my point.
Just looking over the whole list, I think my priorities, the least of my priorities would be the website, unless somebody tells me that really people visit it all the time and so on. I didn't even know we had a website, to tell you the truth. So, and also the Diamonds Awards, with all due respect to the winners and the participants last time, I didn't think it was 19 people, all that fuss for 19 people to participate and kind of have 16 winners out of that or something, whatever it was. It didn't seem like under the circumstances, I don't think it seems like an important thing to have. To me, it's not a priority. So I would just make those comments. The Open Studio Tour and Humanity to Man are important. Like these would be top priorities as far as I'm concerned. And in that would be my immediate thoughts on this subject.
coming from the heart here. Nothing against any of the functions overall, but my personal feeling is if push comes to shove, for example, developing the art policies, if that's going to take 200 hours from our budget, if we give it back to Rec and Parks, I can live with that in that essence, because then it means we can allow something else that we can give out to the public. Website, I think maybe we can cut down some on. Art in the park, I love the concept, but if it's going to take 450 hours and $5,500, I would put that at the bottom of the list as a possibility. And coordination of art installations, like I said again, I do want us to do it, but if push comes to shove, I would let that go also. And in just those few items, besides the website, we're talking $7,500 and 790 hours if we were able to eliminate that. And then, like I said, depending on how much we want to cut back from the website, I would rather have a half of the things we want accomplished on the website. At least we have something to do on the website, because that I do feel website is important. So like I said again, we might be doing, I hate to use the term half a job, but at this time with budget cuts, I'd rather have half than none on an item that I feel that is important.
Before we get to the details, I'm so grateful to have our businessman on board, because he right away sits and knows how to get back into the details. Thank you very much. It was great. I appreciate it. As far as the time and effort and having a curator and cutting the time of the staff, the interesting part is that while we raised the money and we paid a big chunk to our curator to be able to get this program taken care of, but meanwhile, our staff were not only there, they donated more than 2/3 additional time to make it possible to happen. So in reality, to have a curator did not cut from the time, or is not going to cut from time from the staff. So that part I wanted to be clear before we go on anything else. So then going back to Commissioner Wagner, I agree with her, because I do believe that we have set a tradition for years, and I would hate to see a tradition that was built for so many years to let go. I know my heart is with Man's Inhumanity to Man, and I said that we are going to follow and pursue that. But maybe we could use different sources. Maybe we could directly work with the city. Maybe we could work with different museums. God knows. Maybe we could work with Amnesty International. We could work with the United Nations. I don't know. We could work with many different resources to bring that in, because that's a universal thing. But the topic is narrow, but the arena is wide. With artists that we have, the programs that we have already in place, that is something which is local, is community, introducing all the artists to the community. So, if we had to choose one or the other, especially with Man's Inhumanity to Man, as Commissioner Wagner said, we need to know who's going to be the committee, who's going to be involved. There are a lot of this. If we want to have it in a larger magnitude, we have to get many people who are influential involved in this, both in art and business and all the other areas. But with the other one is more local, it is more something doable. So if I have to choose one over the other, not that I'm choosing one over the other, it's just to use our resources for one or the other, it would go with what Commissioner Wagner said. And I think almost everybody else is in agreement, yes.
Chairman Kavanian, as I listen to our conversation, I wonder if we might, because of the small budget that we have and the little amount of time, that we might consider alternating Diamond Awards and a bigger part in the Man's Inhumanity to Man exhibit. That, or at least consider not having the Diamond Awards every year, as it's turned out, we have averaged about every other year, I think, anyway, by the time we stretch out, postpone the exhibits. And that gives, that might be enough. So I might modify for next year, modify my vote, although I still want Open Studio Tour since we're missing it this year.
We cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry. The Open Studio Tour last year we had in September, and this year we're planning for July 2010. So it was 2008, 2009 in September. The fiscal year, what I'm trying to say is the year starts in July. So we're very close. We're doing on the
Almost
at the
almost
end. Yes.
every fiscal year. Not quite, but that's tricky thinking.
Well, this is another reason why we're looking at a whole fiscal year ahead of us now. So that's another reason why. I'm trying to keep tally of what everyone's trying to say here, and my sheet looks like an absolute mess at this point. I really don't know. Yes, Commissioner Lee.
That's a quick question now. Money amount per hour. What's the ratio? Staff hour and cost. Is if we cut down and we got $7,500 extra, how much can I convert that into hours?
I'd have to figure out what Ripsime makes an hour at this point. I don't know, just offhand. I'd have to figure out and let you know.
Because we can't come up with to balance this without those figures.
Does it work that way?
Well, it's really M&O. It's M&O money, which is operating and maintenance. Sometimes it can, if you save it, you can put it towards that. But
okay.
But savings in somebody else's department, especially in this budgetary environment, will not necessarily be reserved for us, so I don't know that we can really
Well, I think he's trying to do is convert that to
our time.
Staff time.
Yeah.
But but what we're talking about taking. Well, I don't know how much is
for
within our
example, estimated cost. Let's say the website to pay IS. If we cut that as a line item, you're cutting down 150 hours plus. You off the budget. You're taking off $8,000. From that $8,000, if that's part of the budget, then we're going to take that $8,000 off and convert that into staff hours instead of using the money for paying IS.
But of course this isn't really a budget since this is more than we have that is budgeted for us.
Correct, but in order to try to balance it, we need to know what one relates to the other in order to figure out if you cut out one line item, what the exact cost is, and how that can be converted back into the whole project.
I believe Commissioner Wagner is trying to explain, based on how we work within our system, that some of the money, it does not directly come back. They are prioritized into necessities that the city has, and it might not necessarily get back, even though that's cut. It's not going to be necessarily spent on the staff time. It could be spent for something that city thinks has priority, correct?
I do think in terms of our district budget, where if something is cut, that money isn't going someplace else. We know that our budget is coming. We're having to cut it every year. The city is in that similar state, but I think we need to just move ahead with our best estimate and come down to something closer to 1,300 or 1,500 hours.
Right.
Suggestion should be given to.
Well, let's not forget also M&O also includes the office space, office material, and all that, the support that Ripsime gets. But I see what you're trying to do. Technically, we only have 1,500 hours of an hourly position because of the civil service rules. We can't go any beyond that. Because in prior years, I think the city was using hourlies, and there was a ruling. I think there was a case in the courts where hourlies weren't being paid benefits. So a lot of hourlies got converted to full-time. So they don't want to continue to abuse people by paying them just hourly and saving benefits. So our threshold or our ceiling really is 1,500. It should be 1,200, but we usually get an extra 300 hours with a request at the city manager's level. So we can't take it beyond that.
Well, the reverse side to that is to pick up another part-timer that can cut down on hours, because if we have the money within the budget to make it work and to run more events simultaneously, we'll see how to work the numbers in.
Yeah, you could do that. It gets a little hard. I know we actually had to call Richard back from his regular, position to help us out. You could do that, but again, it's about 300-400 hours at the most.
Correct. Like I said, it's not going to be that much more converting it over anyway. But just to have an idea to see what we can roll back over, because like I said again, if the function, you're allotting, for example, Open Studio Tour for 500 hours. Let's say it comes out to 550 hours. If we cut out something else, it can be also reverted back to there. Or if there's more hours than we think it should be used, we can cut from there and to realign it so we can try to do more functions within what we have.
But I think if you give us kind of a priority, we can work through that.
Right.
For example, are the educational workshops important for the commission to do? And if so, then if we prioritize it, if we have some time left over, we can move into the next thing on the priority list.
I had a question about number 9 on our list, which is coordination of art installations. What exactly, Haripsime, would that take up of your time? And a secondary question to Mr. Chapchin is there someone in Parks and Recs that can handle that? If it were not handled by staff.
Why don't we let Haripsime talk about how much of her time or what that entails?
Sure.
Because we
estimated about 140 hours, but I can read for all of you all the details that we think that has to be done once we have the policies in place. One of them will be publicizing the public parks policies and the guidelines to the community. Coordinate the art selection committee meetings. We have to form
unless we're it.
We are not going to discuss all the changes for the draft. Review all proposals and make recommendations. Site visits and scheduling. Maintenance of data. And coordinate the installation of the project. This is something new that we are going to do, and it's hard. Actually, it's not easy to come up with an accurate number of hours or cost associated with this project.
But is there someone in Parks and Recs that can handle that? Is there someone already in the department that can do that?
There's not someone already in the department that can do that. Potentially an analyst can help pick that up. Now, It won't be someone with art experience. So it will be someone who doesn't have a lot of experience doing this, so it would be a learning curve on top of that. But it could be picked up by somebody, potentially.
I see number 2 and number 9 should be together, right? Because somebody's got to, if we're going to do the policy, then we need to know what we're doing with it.
I think, if may I, the staff has been working on these policies, developing the policies from day one, and we are becoming very knowledgeable about the details, and us not to get involved with the process when the policies are already active and working. In my opinion, yes, we will need help from the parks liaison. People will get involved. That's part of the draft, if you remember, that each facility liaison will get involved and help work with the cultural affairs staff with the installation. But we have to get involved.
Commissioner Wagner?
Going through the list, I have a tentative suggestion for the cuts we could make to bring us to subtract enough time. If we were to cut, if we were to set aside for this fiscal year the permanent art installation policy piece, Just so cut those hours to 100, from 200 to 100. We're a long way there now in our policy development. So there's 100 we're saving. I would suggest cutting at least one, perhaps cutting the educational workshops in half and saying, so subtracting another 80. We'll do the arts tune-up and probably, whether it's a January one, but since we've got some, we'll have something in July.
2 out of 4.
2 out of 4. So we have 80 there. I'm suggesting, at least for discussion, cutting the website time down to 50. We might be able to bump that up again, but for right now.
Percent or 50 hours?
50 hours, but we might be able to add some back, but for right now. I would cut 100 hours from the 500 demands in Humanity to Man, so we're really, since we know a little bit more what we're doing.
I'm sorry,
Cutting,
what was the
Cut how
cost
much?
here?
well, cutting 100 from it, leaving that at 400. I would cut for this next fiscal year Diamond Awards and Arts in the Park. So that's another 900. Cut the coordination of art installations to 100 from 140. And we come up with something close to 1350 in cuts, but I kind of missed one. So we cut 100. Anyway, something like that gives us, it would help us know what work Ripsime wouldn't have to worry about for this year. We could continue to plan for two of our major events, know that Diamond Awards we could hold, and maybe so anyway, that's
And then number 9?
number 9. I cut down
140.
from 140 to 100.
100. Okay.
Now, you know, the main thing really, I think, for us would be which events we might have to say we won't do in this coming fiscal year. And since
Just this installation of the art, have you done any of this work already?
You mean developing the policies? Or actually installing?
The installing.
No, we are waiting for the policies. But we do get proposals, and we are waiting for the policies.
We've had a private artist that wanted to install the art, and he did. Took a lot of administrative time to deal with it because of insurance requirements and how do you hang it. It was at the Adams Square Mini Park gas station. The second one was we worked with the Glendale Historic Society to do some historic banners in the same facility. So that took a lot of time, and we ended up providing the insurance ourselves. We paid for the insurance and the banners. So it took time. It wasn't anything Ripsime was involved in. I think it was right before you came. No, you got involved
I
a little
was
bit.
involved.
But there have been 2 installations so far. And we keep getting requests, but we want to make sure we have a policy in place that's fair to everybody, because the same artist keeps asking. We want to be able to get as many artists in there as possible.
like the Open Studio Tour, I think having a policy for temporary exhibitions in our park facilities throughout the city should be I think it should be one of our priorities, because it's an opportunity to bring more people into our exhibit spaces, make exhibit spaces out of places that aren't yet. But particularly since the permanent art installation piece, I would think would go hand in hand with the percent for arts, and that's a future project. It is a project that the arts body for the city, whatever it is, should have a hand in. But I think for this coming year, I don't think we'll be at a point where we could make a significant difference in permanent art installations. So that's why I'd rather us focus on the temporary facilities while we go ahead with some of our major events.
Right. Let me just say that although we do have a request for a permanent installation in Grand Park, someone does want to put a dragon in Grand Park, and so now we're working through that. So we'll work through that.
That's why we thought having the permanent policies are very, very important. They're coming to us with sponsor, and it's a project that we really need to follow up with. But without having the guidelines, it's really not easy.
A dragon?
It's a
Dragon or a
it's a play structure, a very large art piece. That's her current proposal at this point. We're still working through some of the details, but
The play structure for the kids?
yes, but kind of going into the ground, coming out somewhere else. She actually has a model of it as well. She came and met with us. So, again, that's one permanent installation. If we get more, I'm not sure how we deal with it at this point, and how much space we have in the parks, and how appropriate is it, the size of it is. So all that we have to work through.
What about the cost? If you have a sponsor, doesn't the sponsor
Well,
pay for the expenses?
Right. Well, I think she is raising money. She wants to raise money to do this.
So that's not going to be at the cost to...
No.
City.
Well, again, it's not,
It's
but it does
staff
take a
time.
lot of staff time. There are playground regulations that we have to adhere to, fall zones, all type of safety
and
issues.
maintenance.
Issues.
There's going to be a
so
maintenance cost.
all
'cause
that.
they can donate it and put it in, but then who's going to keep it
Right.
going?
And the playground, it has to be safe. It may not look like what she wants to look like at the end of it. So there are a lot of things that work out. But again, it's not money on our part right now, but it is a lot of staff time dealing with it.
Right. And my main concern is that do we need to have RIPS made dealing with it, or can we have somebody in Parks and Recs who can deal with it? I mean, once you have the policy down, all they're going to be doing is enacting the policy, whoever is in charge of it. And I understand that there needs to be an artistic hand involved and somebody who deals with that kind of stuff and has expertise. However, I honestly, 140 hours, in my estimation, is a little too much. In that sense, especially when you're working with the Parks and Recs department, I'm sure there's somebody who can pick that up.
Well, we certainly can do it. It would be nice to have someone with an art background, but
Right.
hopefully we don't miss.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of groups and commissions involved anyway. So I don't anticipate things slipping through the cracks because they're going to have to go through so much. They're going to have to come to the commission. They're going to have to go through Parks and Recs commission. They're going to have to go through Parks and Rec staff. They're going to have to go through our staff. I don't think anything's going to slip up. So, quite honestly, if it was left to me, I'd be extremely radical and get rid of all of it. Quite honestly, just cross it all off. But I think if we estimate less than even 100 hours, I don't anticipate taking more than 40 hours of staff time because we don't get that many. Proposals anyway.
Well,
So it's not like they're pouring in left and right, and even if they are, it just has to be sorted out. I mean, if it goes to the Parks and Rec staff, they can kind of just look through it and look at the policy and review it, and then come consult RIPS-MA, and then the process will just happen.
We certainly can pick it up. I think the intent was to call for artwork. Beginning of the year, have it all scheduled.
Right.
Do all that planning initially. So that will take a lot of time, but this other staff can pick that up.
I mean, I would even mark it down from 100 to 50. I mean, with adding on to Commissioner Wagner's.
Again, let me just say, try to prioritize it. Sometimes it may take more than
Right.
the hours that you think. I know you're playing with hours to try to maximize that, but it probably would be better if you prioritize that way. We know what's really important. If there is time left over, we'll just go to the next.
Right. Are there any suggestions or any?
Well, I think we have to. I would prioritize the arts and the policy, the arts in the parks policy. If we need to, at least the temporary. So my priority would be the temporary policy. If the city needs us to help come up with a permanent policy, would have to add some of the time into that. But
especially as we are not permanent ourselves.
We could. Yes, we're a part of the temporary policy.
Let's tell the city that we can only if they can guarantee that we are permanent. We come up with a permanent policy.
That's right. That's new.
So, and I hear that. So, work towards a temporary policy. Do you want to keep it at 100 hours? You want to instead of? I think what you worked up does work in terms of hours.
Mm-hmm. And I took another to bring it to the full 1350. I took 15 hours off the Arts and Culture Commission meetings. We might have to have a couple of shorter meetings, which means we should stop right now. and another 15 off the.
Really good.
Off the somewhere the bottom, the general office duties. So, the way I added it up, it came to 1350.
Okay,
and
that makes sense.
And the in terms of events, we would have the two workshops that are coming. The policy. Well, that's not an event. The policies. The workshops would be events.
Yeah.
The open studio tour would be an event. Man's Inhumanity to Man, however we can participate, would be an event. And then the development of and implementation of those policies would be our priorities for this year. And the hours work out, and everything will change a little bit. And if her hours are getting too many on a particular event, we just have to pitch in more.
And so, don't do the Diamond Awards at this point.
I would say for this coming year, we just did it in June or so. I forget. May. We've had that lapse before, and we can stretch
pick
it out
back.
and make it that much dearer an award if we don't give it too often and too freely.
Yeah, we pick that back up when we have the fiscal budget.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm taking that as a proposal.
I take it.
Okay.
And I will second that.
Okay. Wow.
Wow, good.
I'm surprised that was fast.
Why don't we state it as a formal motion and state the hours you'd like to
Okay.
correspond to each one of them?
Okay.
We got a little too excited.
I move that we set the following priorities for the rest of this fiscal year. Arts and Culture Commission, I'm cutting to 135 hours, just for the math. Development of art policies, 100 hours. Educational workshops, to include 2, 80 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The website, 50 hours. The open studio tour, I left at 500. We could adjust that if we needed to. Man's Inhumanity to Man, 400 hours. Diamond Awards and Art in the Park would be cut for this year. Coordination of art installation, 100 hours, and general office duties, 135 hours, for a total, I think, of 1,500 hours. I was really counting the cuts, and I counted up to 1350. How did it work out,
It
Mr.
works out.
Caption?
I'm just smiling because you cut her general office duties. But
Well, we'll pitch in. She could. Well, we know that the work has to get done, but I just wanted to make the math work.
Okay.
Chair Kavanian and Commissioner Wagner, is that also the order and the sequence you wanted that you stated it, or
In terms of priority
priority as well?
No.
The priorities. Well, the priorities would include those events whose hours haven't been cut. So the priorities in terms of events would be the workshops.
Or should we make that a second motion?
No,
I think
it would need to be one
I think
motion,
the
but-
priorities. I think that lists our priorities.
By the amount of the cut.
Okay.
By the amount, by the cut and the items that were cut from it.
So-
Is
So
that clear? Is that clear enough?
Well, I think it'll work for us. I mean, there's a list of a work plan with a list, and so we'll work off of that.
Yeah. So the items that are cut the most are least on the priority list
For this year.
for this fiscal year.
You know, I
correct.
certainly would not want anyone to assume that we're really devaluing the Diamond Awards.
Right,
We
of
are
course.
valuing them in a different way by spreading them out in a way that has actually matched our pattern. We haven't done the Diamonds Award every year.
Now, if I just in the event that we're not asked to do the MIM this year, do you want to substitute something else for that? And I think you have 400 hours.
That would make sense.
We've talked. I mean, I think we certainly would want to look at Arts in the Park. I think we would want to
Put more into the website?
Put more into the website, give those hours back.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So there is a motion. All right. Second?
Second.
Okay. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, you may.
All right.
Commissioner Stepanian?
Aye.
Commissioner Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner Defonesian?
Aye.
Commissioner Solis is absent. Commissioner Wagner?
Yes.
Commissioner Gregorian is absent. Chairperson Givanian.
Yes. All right. Next item, please.
Reports, there are none. Commission and staff comments.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Well, I will just say, although we won't report on the specifics, that I have enjoyed our work on the policy, on the art policy in public parks. I have certainly enjoyed the beginnings of the work on Unity Fest. That's underway. Coming up again Sunday, October 11th from noon until 6. What else do I have to say? School starting August 31st, and I will report on whatever I know about who's coordinating arts in our district, because I don't think I know that yet.
Okay. Any other comments from my colleagues?
Yeah. As part of our culture of, as an organization that deals with culture, I want to expand it to as wide as I can expand it to, and say the certain things in our culture, the culture we live with in the United States. One of them is a culture of waste that we kind of seem to indulge in. And I wanted to suggest, I want to make a comment that we shouldn't have bottled waters here. I just got this article again, and it reminded me of what a fantastic waste this is. I think as an Arts and Culture Commission, we can set an example by, not having that. There's a nice fountain out there. I just went and drank there, and we can bring our own cups, like Arlette has brought her, and just get water here, and just start saving the earth, saving money. That we could even save money that way, and this is the kind of thing that in the absence of a good budget and we can, as Arts and Culture Commissioners and as a commission, we can start addressing wider issues, cultural issues, no, I won't go there. There was something else I wanted to say. No, I wanted to say something else, but the reason for my absence last week, but I leave that for the moment. And also, I want to just say that at Luna Playhouse, we have the final 2 performances of a play called "The Sexual Neurosis of Our Parents." Don't panic about the name, the title. It's actually a very serious play by Lucas Barfus, he's a very, very important new playwright. His plays are done all over Europe. This production, the New York. This is the West Coast premiere, of course, here in the East Coast premiere in New York was the main part was played by Meryl Streep's daughter. So it's actually a very serious play. Luna Playhouse, Friday and Saturday, and on Sunday we have an Armenian play, Tumanian Tales, for kids and grown-ups. Very funny, but it's in Armenian. We'll do an English version later. and that would be Sundays 23rd of August and 30th of August and September 13th. So our theater is working, and we have yet another play coming up in 2 weekends, the last 2 weeks, Friday and Saturday in August, and Friday and Saturday, first Friday and Saturday in September. It's called Shooting Rats. Again, it's in Armenian. It's a very modern drama. So our theater, despite our fantastic financial problems, we are kind of surviving and continuing, with lots of volunteers and lots of people dedicated. And this is what our commission could, and this is another comment I'm making, that Arts and Culture Commission must have the authority, must have the willingness, and must have the love of the arts and culture to encourage and lead, not just by trying to find the money here and there and sponsorship and by always involving business into this, and just say to the community at large that we are here, we love arts, we love the arts, we want to be culturally advanced, civilized people here, and we encourage you to come and work with us and participate. And all these projects that we all mentioned, we need to have 100-hour staff time here, and this and that, we need to have budget and so on. All these can also be done by people who want to do this kind of thing on a volunteer basis, just to participate. And as an Arts and Culture Commission of the city of Glendale, I'm sure our call will be heeded. People, if we make it, they will come. So as a general point, I want to say, if we are kind of wishy-washy, we are not so sure of ourselves, we are asking the city, are you going to abolish this or not? If we leave this alone and say, no, we are the artists, we are the cultural people, we are the civilization in this city, we want to do this, and come, let's do it together. Let's open the open tour or managing humanity to man, like last time we had somebody contributing, and people. And we don't always have to worry about budgets and all the technical stuff. I'm sure Mr. Chapchian and all the others, you need to, and Mr. Grant, you need to worry about the legal matters, and also that I understand. I don't have any, but the rest of it can be done through asking people, come, be compassionate, be willing, be ready to participate and have fun. And this is where to enrich your own lives, ours, and everybody else's. So that's it. I have come and see our plays. 500-7200, our telephone number, and lunaplayhouse.org is our website. So that's what we should do. Thank you.
Thank you. Shirley?
I have a few. One, I want to thank the Americana again, Mr. Caruso, and Barnes & Noble. They are doing a cultural event at Barnes & Noble this Saturday, August 22nd, from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. They were able to line up the Chinatown Lion Dance along with the book signing from Lisa C. I think the name of the book was Shanghai Girl.
Yes.
So, again, that's this Saturday from 2 to 4. Hopefully everybody can make it. The Chinese Chamber of Commerce is currently working on a Taiwan 88 relief fund. So that's in the works. We're tentatively planning for August 29th to be at the 3rd Street Promenade with a booth, and we're looking for media coverage to possibly broadcast live. So these are tentative that we're working on. If anybody has seen the disaster in Taiwan, I personally have heartfelt feelings toward those people. So we will be working on that. Please contact the Chinese Chamber of Commerce at 213-617-0396 if you for confirmation of the date, time, and location, and if you have time to help. Thank you.
I don't have much to share besides the fact that this summer I've been extremely busy and I could not attend many of the events because I was very busy keeping our youngsters and kids in the community and in the district with a wonderful summer camp program that we had during summer. Our kids went to wonderful different activities scheduled. They went to play. Some of them, Commissioner Lee was with us because his daughter attends one of our programs. So our time was spent with programming, keeping our kids safe and entertained and educated in different areas. They went to 2 plays. It was wonderful. They enjoyed that. And lots of athletic events within the city. City was wonderful. Our community was great. I personally have to thank, I know it has nothing to do with this, with the Jewel City bowling program. They provided lots of fun for our kids and they did more than what was expected, so I need to thank them. So on behalf of our little ones in the community and in the district, I want to thank all the community organizations who chipped in and participated and collaborated with us. So hopefully from September on, I'll get more with the other community events in the art and culture area. But so far, my time was with the little ones.
Thanks so much. Commissioner Wagner?
Bowling is culture, too.
Yes, it's a culture.
I neglected to mention the opportunity that we as commissioners have to solicit sponsors for Unity Fest. Again, that's another citywide cultural event, and the committee is looking for sponsors, I'm sure, at any level. And as well as artists, they're lining up the performers, but if you're aware of artists who might wish to perform in this year's Unity Fest, please call the city. And since you mentioned Lisa C., I thought I'd put in a plug for another cultural piece for our upcoming One Book, One City, One City, One Book, One Book, One City. Lisa C.'s Shanghai Girls or Girl? One girl? Multiple girls, I thought. Shanghai Girls, and Amy Goldman Koss, a Glendale resident, children and young adults author who's also an artist. I first met her at the library when probably I know it was in the early 90s when she was doing one of her children's books, and she did the collage art which she displayed to the parents who came to the I'm acting as if I'm in the library. The parents who came to the library to the children's hour. So it's very exciting. And the name of that book, Poison Ivy. That's
very
right.
Good.
That's Amy Goldman Koss's book.
And I think they're planning to come to the commission next month.
Oh, good.
September.
Good.
I did receive an email.
Great.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other comments? Anybody remembering anything at the last minute before? Okay. Well, I wanted to make a comment about the National Night Out, since myself and Commissioner Solis were very involved in the one at Pacific Park, along with Lenore Solis and Margaret Hammond involved herself, and Ani Chakmakian as well. I'm sorry, Ani Baltayan. Wow. Sorry about that, Ani. She's going to kill me, but that's okay. It was on August 4th, as you all know. Frank Quintero was there, our mayor. And I really have to thank all the community partners that came out. Actually, several of my friends, I have a friend who's a DJ, and I have a friend who does wedding photography and wedding videos. So they both came out and donated their time. DJ Jack K and Golden Picture. And to all the community partners, I think we had Oscar's hot dogs and sausages, which was excellent.
Very good.
It feels like it's been so long since the event. I can't remember any of our sponsors. Of course, the police were great. Officer
What was her name?
Razana,
Great job.
Officer Razana, very, very, very nice to us and very helpful. Horace Mann's children's groups came out and performed for us. We had a Latin folklorico group and also several kids dancing to Armenian music, which was fun. We also had the ladies dancing group from the YMCA, which was really interesting. They said that they were now this is not going to be politically correct, but older women dancing. And I walked outside and I was like, I don't see any old women dancing when I was watching them practice. So That was nice. It was just a fun day for all of us, and yeah, to those who came out and to any of the places. There were 6 other locations.
Adams Square.
Adams Square, Pelincone. I can't remember any of the other places off the top of my head, but there was plenty of places, and it was very fun. I heard everyone had fun, and actually Onik Bolanikian, excellent guy.
He's fantastic.
He knows what he's doing. He's just took care of all of it. He doesn't get so.
By the way, congratulations to Onik. He had twins.
Twins, that's
Yeah,
right.
I know.
Oh my goodness! Were they,
Yeah.
Did he expect twins, or was it a
Yes.
surprise? Oh, okay.
He knew about it.
He
It was
knew.
not a surprise. It would not have been a good surprise. It would have been a scary situation. Anyway,
Just participating at that event, I was very proud to see our commissioner standing there and helping with all the venues, and with him being so involved. And
Actually, I was
naturally,
dancing. That's a
guess
lie. I
where
was dancing
saw,
most of the
Amador. Which area could you guess?
not a far stretch of the imagination.
And Lenore
He was cooking.
sitting
He
there.
was cooking
He
in
was
his
cooking,
defense.
actually. He was very good. I was very proud. And listening to all the events and seeing how our commissioners are getting involved and they participate in most of the events in the city, it shows how much time is being given for all the wonderful work that they do. Thank you, all the commissioners.
That's right.
Along that same line, I want to thank the committee for the cruise night. I was able to enjoy almost the entire time the function was on. Lot of groups are out there. There was a lot of people. I really enjoyed the function. So thank you to the cruise night committee and to the city for helping put that on.
This year I missed it because I love that event.
All right. Any other comments? Anybody remembering anything at the last minute? All right. Going once, going... No, I'm just kidding. Next item, please.
Written communications, I have none.
I'm surprised. And next item is adjournment. So with that, we're adjourned.